Matt, before we get to the quarterback, I knew from watching you what you had done at Southern Miss that you love tight ends. You
Yes.
are a tight end aholic,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
And I saw you brought in a couple of them
Yeah.
that were pretty impressive in the transfer portal. And I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, but is that something that you still are going to rely upon? Is heavy tight end usage possibly?
Yeah, we like to, we base out of one tight end, but we play two a whole lot. We'll play three some. Very rarely will we not have one in the game at least. We want guys that are multiple. We look for guys. We like to fill the room with two types of kids. One that can really win the C gap, and the other type that can really get open. If we can find a guy that can do both, that's great. But we want to be able to do both. And again, when those guys are in the game, are we loading the box or are we spreading it out? We want the D coordinator to not know for sure.
It's quarterback. You bring in the kid from he used to be at Houston, was at Lafayette, and et cetera. But you've already had a pretty heavy quarterback room as it was heavy, not as in weight wise.
Yeah.
But I mean, you had pretty good names in there. One that came to mind was a kid who played in the MAC.
Yeah.
Was Simonsa. Is that how did I say it right?
Yeah.
Simonsa.
Yeah.
Are you obviously open quarterback competition, right? And is there anybody, when you brought in Zion, were you feeling pretty good about how he would fit into your mold of quarterback?
Yeah, when we looked at the portal this year at quarterback, what we wanted to do is we wanted to have some competition with Caden from an older standpoint. We wanted to have two older guys to compete, all right? Because we really believe in these three younger guys we have. We've got three young guys in Jay Beeman, Cade Scott, and then we early enrolled Trace Johnson. And we just think whoever wins out of those three young guys is going to be the next Michael Pratt, Darian Minson. We think we've got a great one on our hands. We think we got more than one great one, just whoever wins it. And so we wanted to continue to develop that position. That's a position that has to be developed. When you look at the, like I said, Pratt and Minson were high school signees that were developed. So we didn't want to oversign transfers and squish the development of those kids, but at the same time we got to be good right now. And we've got two transfers that have played at a high level. When you look at Simonza at Ball State in the MAC, he was the MAC Freshman of the Year. He played at a high level for Mike New, who's the quarterback coach for the Saints. So in a very similar West Coast passing system. And then you bring in a guy like Zion, who was dynamic in the Sun Belt at UL, and then really helped Coach Fritz get that Houston program off the ground last year. Wins versus TCU and Kansas State, where he was a one-man wrecking crew. So we feel like we got two older guys that have competed and won and proven it, and then we got three young guys that were highly recruited and have a ton of potential. So we think we got a good mix of old and youth there.